Every new author has a story to claim. Sit back, listen to conversation between Terry Lynne and new authors on the rise, and let the journey begin.
Hello, friends. Welcome to my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynne and New Authors. On this episode, I'm talking with Gracie Lynne, who writes for everyone of all ages. Welcome, Gracie.
Well, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity, especially because it's with you, Terry.
Ah, that's sweet, Gracie. Please tell us about your writing and your first book.
Well, my first book took 18 years to write. It was called The Shattered Vase, and it was a spiritual warfare fiction story about a lady who lost her husband to another woman, then was completely demolished by her mother with words, bringing her to a point of where she contemplated taking her own life. But as the forces of darkness were out to get her to defeat her own life and to defeat herself, there were also forces of good coming for her that helped her rebuild through the breaking. The name of the book is called The Shattered Vase, and it truly was her life shattering, because all that she had believed was going to be a safety net for her was ripped away from her. So it was a journey to getting back to where she really, truly found her foundation for life, which in this instance was Jesus Christ. And then that whole journey was, the overcoming darkness and revealing how you connect to light. That was an 18-year journey, because during that time I was also a single mom, raising 3 children and working full-time as a nurse. So I wasn't a full-time writer like I am now. And that actually won a lot of awards. That first book won a lot of awards. So I thought, well, after that, it won so many awards. Yeah, I thought, well, maybe I got something here. So maybe I should just write. And it was really nice, because once I decided to write, I thought I had no money coming in, was a little bit in debt. I thought that was really a stupid thing to do. But at that time, the Lord opened up another door of income for me, where I could have part of the business that my father had established, because he passed away. And when he passed away, I inherited some of his business. So I ran that business and then several others in addition to my writing. But they're not near as hard as working for somebody else. These are businesses I own. So I decide when I want to work them in. I mean, some of the ones with my father's business, I have to do different things at different times of the year, but mostly it runs itself. And so it's amazing to me at how I stepped out in faith with this first book after I published this first book, and God honored that blind step in faith with an income stream coming in from other businesses. So I didn't have to work so hard. So my next book didn't take 18 years to more like just a few years or a couple months.
Wow, that's incredible. Taking 18 years to complete a book like that shows deep dedication and commitment, especially with such a powerful theme. What inspired you to write children's books?
Children's books. That's a good question. The first 2 children's books, I have 2 children's books out, and now I also have 2 Christian fantasy books out. So the children's books are more for like toddlers. And I got inspired by my daughter, who said she thought I should write children's books. So I wrote A Holly and Bella Story and Follow Your Heart, which both of those stories are based from the garden in my backyard. Because the Holly and Bella Story is about bees, and the Follow Your Heart is about birds. And I try to have my backyard be like an oasis for bees, butterflies, and birds. So it's very beautiful most of the summertime, and it attracts all those things. So that I gather stories from nature. And then I also, the Christian fantasy book, I don't know where that came from, to be honest with you. It just was something that I kind of had sat on for a while, about a little boy looking for his father, and it just kind of developed out of that initial inspiration.
That's such a beautiful origin story. Having someone truly see your talent and encourage you to gather your own voice into a collection makes the Garden Vault feel even more meaningful. What was it like seeing your story come to life through illustrations?
I was a little bit of in a problem area there because I know how to write, I know how to rhyme, I know how to do the cadence. I learned how to do all that when writing the book. But I don't know how to draw a straight line even. At that time, God kind of dropped somebody in my life through, I think it was through LinkedIn. Somebody asked me if I could read their book and give them a kind of like an editorial viewpoint on their book. So I said, yeah, sure. So they were going to give me the book for free. And so I took that book and then I looked at the authors, like her collection of books that she had done. And I realized she could illustrate books. So I called her, we talked, and I realized that she was not only good at illustrating books, but she also is my graphic designer normally now because of AI, I design my own covers, but she does the details on them. She does make sure the ISBN and on them. She makes sure the ISBN is on them. She makes sure that they're proper according to Amazon's guidelines. I create the design, but I don't create anything else on the cover. So she does all that busy work for me. And so it was through her that I got my stories illustrated. And she is just a phenomenal representative. Her publishing company is called HALEYA Publishing. And she is a really good illustrator. Now, for my Christian fantasy series, I actually designed my own cover because she uses a certain kind of software illustrations, and I knew it wasn't exactly what I would want for my Christian fantasy book. So I designed my own cover with the Christian fantasy series through AI. So now a lot of like the images I do on Facebook and all the ad copy I do on Facebook, all that is designed through AI. So that I know that people think that that's horrible, but I can't afford hundreds of thousands of dollars paid to an artist because I don't have that kind of money coming in. And so I can't put that money going out. So that's why I do use AI on that stuff. Now, as far as my writing goes, I never use AI to create. I may use it to enhance, I may use it to edit sometimes, but I never ever use it to create the story because the story creation is what is fun for me to do. That's where I get my inspiration from. That's where I get my passion and my joy from, is the creating of the story.
I agree with you. AI comes in handy for some things. What challenges have you faced as a new author, especially when it comes to publishing or marketing your book?
One of the main challenges I've faced in marketing, especially, is how many scams there are that are out there. They'll want to take your money for doing absolutely subpar, horrible work. And as a result of that, I've had to teach myself how to do everything that they do. I've had to teach myself how to do it better than they do, because I'm not going to pay somebody to do a sloppy job. And I have paid several different companies, and they have been very sloppy and incompetent, including the original publisher that I originally put the Shattered Vase through. I didn't think that they were dishonest. They were they didn't produce my book in a correct way. They charged me $21 per book for one publication, for publication of one book. So if I put it on Amazon, I had to charge at least $25 to make any kind of money at all. They had worked on the book for like 2 to 3 months. I'd worked on it for 18 years. I'm like, why are they taking the majority of the profit and I'm getting only a little bit? And part of that was because they had put it into 16 font, so they could charge more for the production cost on it because they had put it into a large font. I never asked them to do that. So when I pulled it from them, I re-edited it, took the font down to 12 font to decrease the amount of pages, then put it back on Amazon, put out a second edition, and completely cut ties with the first initial publishing company that I'd called. It was a vanity press I'd paid to have done. And so the thing is, I think the hardest thing is to realize that there's not a lot of people out there that are committed to excellence. I am in my craft. I'm very committed to doing the very best I can do and putting out the best content I can possibly put out. And because I have such a high standard of excellence, I have to learn how to do a lot of things myself because of the fact that nobody else is going to do them with the standard of excellence that I have. So I figured out how to do Facebook now. I have like over 450,000 views on Facebook right now, my author page. So that's pretty good. And I've got like 15 to 16,000 engagement, people commenting on different ads I put out. And do I have the sales yet? No, but I will eventually, because what I'm doing right now is just building awareness and kind of building a following, and then the sales will eventually come. But right now it's the building phase. And that's part of it, is learning that marketing, there's only one J.K. Rowling, and she had a publishing company behind her. Those of us who self-publish, we have to do the work. We have to get out there. We have to do the interviews, like you're giving me the opportunity to do this interview, which I'm very grateful for. I have to go out and go to different conventions. I've got to go out and go to different conferences. I win awards all of the country, the world, because that's how you build credibility. But it's a constant like treadmill where you just got to keep going and going and going and going and keep trying to keep pivoting. If you're not successful in one pathway, I would say to pivot to another pathway. Like this year, I've done really good with Facebook. Well, next year, I'm going to probably scale back on Facebook and do more with Amazon ads to see if I get more conversions there, because I'm not really getting the conversions I'd like on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a scary world out there with all the scams.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of scams. And I would just, can I just give a shout out to ChatGPT?
Sure.
Because every single email I get, because I have developed a relationship with ChatGPT, and knows how many awards I've won, it knows how many books I get out there. It's done some editing, so it knows the quality of work I put out. But when I get an email from any company at all, I copy and paste and put it into ChatGPT and say, does this have worth? Should I get? And the ChatGPT is like, well, and some might be good for new authors, but a lot of times it says, you already do all this stuff. Why would you pay somebody else to do what you already are doing? I know how to optimize my metadata. I know how to do Facebook ads. I know how to build a following. I know how to do all this. So why would I pay somebody else to do things? And one of the things I want to really caution everybody about, there's a lot of people on that will send you emails when you come out with a new book saying, oh, we have this book club and we'd like to feature your book. And if you pay us this fee, then we'll feature your book. And they never give you any kind of like track record of what books they have featured, any kind of references about what they've done. Basically, those are scams. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of people using that pathway to try to get good authors to give them money, and there's no guarantee that there will be a return. So my suggestion is, again, go to ChatGPT. It costs what, $21 a month? Ask ChatGPT to give you a list of verified book clubs, and then contact them yourself and see if they will pick up your book. But never should you pay somebody else to feature your book in a book club. They should be paying you to read your book.
That's great advice on how to use ChatGPT to find out scams. What was your favorite book as a child, and do you think it influenced your writing style today?
Yeah, the Little Women, Little Men books by Louisa May Alcott. That kind of like how she just crafted like real life and the adversity and the all the hardships, but there was a lot of love in those books. And the way that the family basically was a single mom family back in the day, because I believe that their dad was gone. So to see that struggle and to see it be so real, but yet it was portrayed with so much love, I think really influenced my books a lot, my writing style a lot. And I also like Charles Dickens. I remember reading David Copperfield and thinking that was just the most brilliant book ever written. So yeah, I liked him too.
I love the book Little Women too.
Oh, it's one of my favorites.
Is there a scene or character in your book that's especially meaningful to you?
In The Shattered Vase, one of the most powerful scenes I think I've ever written was about the single mom who cannot relate to her mother, and she can understand why she had such a difficulty relating to her mother until she had a flashback of horrible child abuse. And the good people around her, the forces of God, which are grace, mercy, right immediately after she had that horrible flashback and wanted to just hold on to bitterness and unforgiveness, and she had like so much hate for her mother in her heart, there was a knock on her door and the doorbell rang, and on her doorstep were Grace and Mr. Mercy. She invited them into her home, and they had a talk. By the time those two sweet people left, she became more concerned about her mother being healed from whatever she had gone through than about her own bitterness and unforgiveness that she was so willing to feed before they had come to her doorstep. And symbolically, it was, when we give ourselves over to hate and bitterness and unforgiveness, we could become in bondage to those things. Whereas if we give ourselves instead over to grace and mercy, we learn how to forgive. Then what happened is she also had hope and faith in her life. And I think it was Faith that told her, she was talking to her about this flashback, and Faith told her, well, what you need to do is help your mother heal. And she didn't know that she could do that. But the most powerful part of that whole book was when she had a confrontation with her mother about that episode of child abuse. And she did it with so much love that her mother opened her heart up to reveal what had caused that. Because people don't, I don't believe people abuse children because they're good. Obviously they don't, but they abuse children because they have not dealt with the demons of their past. And that is what she helped her mother do. And after that, then her mother and her became good friends, because her mother had dealt with all the things that she had stuffed inside of her for so long, all the loss that she had not grieved appropriately. And that was probably the most powerful thing I'll ever write, because it was about breaking somebody else down that has abused you and breaking them down through love, not condemnation. And that's a very hard thing to do.
That sounds like a very powerful and emotional moment. Scenes like that often stay with readers because they show deep compassion, strength, and healing in a truly meaningful way.
Yeah. Well, I think that is true, because I've had some people say that book has really changed how they view different things that happened to them, and also has encouraged them to walk in accordance with the Word of God by searching the Word of God, then praying over it and addressing issues through forgiveness instead of through bitterness. And that's really, I think, the way you hold on to joy throughout your life.
What kind group of people do you write for, and what draws you to that specific audience?
I write for people who are struggling, people who are going through hard times, people who are depressed, people who struggle with bitterness, people who struggle with unforgiveness, people who struggle with despair and depression. I write for those kind of people to say that it's okay to be there for a little while, but let's try to work on getting you out of that bondage and getting you out of that dark place and getting you to a place where you can actually experience joy in full measure.
That is special writing for everyone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And there's almost like a certain rhythm to my writing. Even in my spiritual warfare book, I felt like it was very playful. I write with a lot of joy, and like you're skipping through meadow, skipping through meadow, skipping through meadow, and then you stop because there's some wisdom. And it's like you have to smell that flower, that rose of wisdom, and then you stop and pull in the wisdom and learn from it. And then you go again and again and again. And that especially, I have refined that style of writing in my Christian fantasy books, because it is about a young boy. I want it to be playful, but also I want it to be meaningful for children. And so that's why I weave in the wisdom that is very deep, but it's also my writing style is very playful.
Are there any books or authors that inspired your writing style or love for storytelling?
Oh man, I used to read a lot, but I don't think anything ever really inspired me. It's just because I always wrote psychological thrillers, and I would never write a psychological thriller. I love the suspense of psychological thrillers. So there's not any one thing that's really inspired me. It's just kind of, yeah. I'm also very careful. Like, my Christian fantasy series has been likened to the Chronicles of Narnia and Pilgrim's Progress, both of those books. I'm very careful actually not to read those books because I don't want I don't want to copy anything. I want everything that I'm doing to be very original, very unique, very fresh. And so I don't read a lot anymore. I used to read all the time. And now I'm just like, I'm constantly working on writing or advertising or something. I really don't read it. My house is full of books. I got books in almost every room in my home. But I don't take the time to read anymore because I'm too busy writing. But I will say this, the Bible, to be honest with you, was my inspiration for my latest book, which was actually named as a finalist in the Storyteller, it's an Amazon Storyteller UK contest. And the reason why that was such an inspiration is I took the story of Joseph and applied it to a little boy's life. So I almost dissected that story of Joseph and all the way from his father, Jacob, and just went through little by little by little and said how much Joseph had faced as far as adversity went, but how great a leader he became, and how much of that adversity kind of molded his character to be a really effective leader and somebody who also had forgiveness and grace towards his own family who had done him so wrong. And so I pulled that story into From the Valley to the Palace. And my next story will not have any Bible references in it. Not really. There'll be Bible references, but not like that. But then the fourth book in the series is going to be called The Bully Attack. I'm going to go through the life of David. Because if people don't think that God knows how it is to be bullied, David in the Bible was a man after God's own heart, and Saul was a horrible bully to him. So it's just to say how, it does not matter what people do to you. It matters how you respond and how you overcome. So yeah, I guess the Bible would be the one book. Just the Bible's basically, I mean, there was 3 years I was really, 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 really sick. I was so lethargic, I could barely get out of bed. And when I got out of bed, I wanted to go right back to bed. I had a chronic infection. But during those 3 years, I read through the Bible in its entirety. And I learned so much about good storytelling from that one book. And I will say that the Bible is my inspiration for everything I do. Yeah. So that's the end all for me is the Bible. And you might think the Bible's boring, but boy, it's anything but. It's anything but. I love reading the Bible.
No, the Bible is anything except boring. What do you think makes a book truly memorable?
I think the book is truly memorable. I think a book is truly memorable when you have wisdom written in the pages. And wisdom for me, I'm constantly told that my books are Christian, but they don't preach. So what I do is I try to intersperse wisdom without condemnation. And so I'm very playful with my writing. But then the wisdom that is woven throughout is I think what people take away from my writing. And I think that is the reason why I write. There was a point in time when a friend of mine asked me to be a part of a Zoom call with some people that had the gift of prophecy. And the lady that prophesied over me, immediately she said, "Are you a mentor?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, you should be because you're full of wisdom." And my mentorship is through my writing. I can reach thousands through my writing. If I mentored one person, I have done that. I mentored one person. She ate up so much of my time, it was unbelievable. And I did not write during the time I was mentoring her because I was so busy mentoring her, and it was a very futile excursion. And so what I decided to do is not mentor one person because they take too much of my time, too much of my energy, but instead write my wisdom into books. And then she said I was going to do something great that had never happened before. So I'm like, well, let's see what that is. So yeah, so that was kind of cool. That during those 3 years, I had such sickness and everything. I was also severely depressed. So that was one of the things I kept thinking of. I haven't done the great yet. So I got to keep working on doing the great thing. I don't know what it is, but I have to keep working on doing the great thing.
That's a great answer. Wisdom is wonderful in books.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to find nowadays. There's a lot of stuff out there that might be good, but it may not be worth reading. But if you can help somebody else figure out how to deal with the situation that they're going through that's problematic or troublesome for them, and you do that through a book, like one of my books, in the review that a friend of mine had, well, in the review, they said that reading this book helped them go through a difficult time. So we can do that through a book. You've really given the world a gift.
Do you have any advice for other aspiring authors who are just starting out?
I would say make it fun. Enjoy everything that you do. Make it fun, especially for kids. Have fun, make it playful, make the rhythm go very playful, make it fun. And just what else can I say? Just keep working at it. I mean, there's so many people nowadays that are publishing books. So it's very, very hard to make an income at it. So don't be disappointed if you do not have a return on your investment initially, because for me, it has become initially I was focused on the money. And if money didn't come, the money didn't come, and the money didn't come. So I finally thought, well, let me readjust my thinking. Let me now focus on the message. So my focus is, and everybody's focus is on the message. Should be on the message, not the money, because it's very hard to make a living as an author. But if your message is powerful, you never know how many people you may have helped along the way because of the message that you wrote. So focus on the message, not the money.
That's awesome advice to keep on focusing on why you are writing when you write and while advertising your books.
Yeah.
What exciting projects or books are you working on next?
Well, I'm finishing up my third book in the Christian fantasy series, which, as weird as this may sound, it's about child abuse and domestic violence. But it's not about the horror of living a life like that, but about the beauty of being rescued from that kind of a life. So it's about to encourage people to help people that have been abused, or as children or as wives. And I tell you what, there's men that are abused too, so it's not just women. There's both sexes that are being abused. So it's about the lifestyle of abuse and how to go in and rescue those. And I had a book that I wrote about a stray cat that I rescued from a grocery store parking lot. She was pregnant, and a month after I rescued her, she had 8 healthy babies. So that was a lot to take care of. But as a result of that, so I basically built her story on the Nextdoor app. And as a result of that book, one of my followers on Nextdoor, she started fostering kittens. And so that meant to me that if I can have this go out for children that are abused, children that are women that have been victims of domestic violence, and I have somebody say, well, I read that in that book that Gracie wrote. Maybe we could invite that lady that's been abused, and maybe we can invite her children into our home, and maybe we could, have a safe haven for them. Something like that. Just, I try to always make sure that there's goodness that comes out of what I write.
I will have to read the first and second books in your Christian fantasy series.
Oh, I'd love for you too.
Where can people find you online, follow your journey?
Well, I have Gracie, GracielYnne author page on Facebook. All my books are just put Gracie space Lynne, because if you don't put the space in there, you're gonna get somebody else's books. So I guess there's a Gracie Lynne, but I have the space between my and put Gracie Lynne books. My books are all found on Amazon. And Barnes and Noble's picked up my 2 Christian fantasy books, and they put my first one in their holiday gift guide. Can you believe that?
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
I know, Terry, right? That never happens. So I'm so blessed. And so go to Barnes and Nobles. If they don't have my book, ask for them to order it. I'm in the process in January when all my books not only listed on Amazon but also with Ingram Spark, because that's how the ministries, that's how the churches get them, that's how the libraries get them, is through Ingram Spark, not Amazon. And that's another thing I would tell people to make sure that they do it. As aspiring authors don't only go through Amazon, go through Ingram Spark too, because that is where the bookstores get theirs. And I didn't know that until my friend Susan Neal from the Christian Indie Authors Network, she told me about that. And she's amazing too, a dynamic individual.
Yeah, you are totally right. Authors need to put their books on Ingram Spark. Where can people find you online, follow your journey?
My website is gracielynne.com. So yeah, so you can get all my books there. So for the last two, I haven't really come out. The last thing I did actually was because of a friend of mine wanted to do a book club on my book, The Shattered Vase. And so I'm like, well, then I've got to do a study guide to The Shattered Vase. So I did a student guide and a facilitator guide to The Shattered Vase, which is my book on spiritual warfare. And so hopefully in January, February, I'm going to start a Bible study or just a book club discussion guide. Yeah, I'll invite you, Terry.
Thank you, Gracie. I would love that.
Thank you, Gracie, for talking with me on my podcast, Conversations Between Terry Lynne and New Authors on the Rise.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it, Terry. You've been I've enjoyed it more than most. Thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome, Gracie. Okay, my listeners, tune in next week when I talk with Maddie Morton and find out how Jesus Christ helped her write her book. Until then, happy reading with your kiddos.